And as always, I bring you nothing but the best, both the past and, of course, the present. And speaking of the present, who I have on the show today is the magician, El Mago. That's the nickname I given him. Now we're gonna see if he like it or don't like it, but I love it because I think it describes his game. We got Andre Curbelo on the line. What's up, baby? How you doing?
I'm doing good, man. I'm doing good. Can't complain. Just staying loyal to the grind, staying ready, and just working to bring the best to you guys.
Hey, well, I tell you this, I appreciate it, and thank you for taking the time to come on. I got thanks as always. DB does a great job of getting in contact with you guys, so love having you on. Let's hop right into it, man. And I'm going to ask you this because I played with against some great players from Puerto Rico. Not many people understand that you guys have a long lineage of really good players to come from there. One of the first guys I ever made and played against from there, and I don't know if you'll remember him. Shit, he was older than me, so I know he's older than you. Was Picolín Ortiz.
Yeah, yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
oh
yeah,
yeah. So
yeah.
Pico and I played against
Big
each
deal.
other in Spain. Actually, it was my first year. I think it was his last year actually playing. Everyone doesn't get it. Like I said, they don't know the history of Puerto Rican basketball. Talk a little bit about what you've learned coming up and playing in Puerto Rico.
Man, I've learned a lot. Just like you said, we got so many like great players. Like we're not the greatest players. We're not like we don't have too many athletic players. We don't have too many tall players, but I think the players that come out of Puerto Rico are just players that have a big heart. They have just passion for the game and just that love for the game that, like people like are able to see it, if that makes sense. And, like you said, great example is Picolín Ortiz. Like, he's probably one of our tallest players that have come out of Puerto Rico and one of our best players coming out of Puerto Rico, if not the best. So, we got good talent in Puerto Rico, and we definitely have some players that can make big shots, that can make big passes, that can make big plays. Just because we're talented and we have a lot of passion for the game. So I think Puerto Rico is a great place to go back, and the pro league in Puerto Rico I think is a decent league, and I think there's really good competition down there. So I think
Yeah.
players from Puerto Rico are really good, and I'll even say we're a little bit underrated for sure.
Well, I'll definitely say it. You don't have to say underrated because I'll say it for you. I think the players that have come from there are underrated
Yeah,
and don't get enough of the love that you should. And
for
part of
sure.
that is because Puerto Rico is small. I mean,
Yeah, true.
it's just small and doesn't get a lot of love. But
Yep.
we when I was at Illinois, my first time going to Puerto Rico, we played in the San Juan Shootout. And
Mm.
I don't even know if they still have the San Juan shootout, but we went down there, we played. I fell in love with the island, man. I will say this, haven't been back since, but I want to make my way back there because it was one of the most beautiful places
Yeah,
that
yeah,
I've ever
yeah.
been.
It's definitely a good place to play and just to visit overall. I think Puerto Rico is I'll even say it's perfect. You know, great place to just to be there, and then if you're hooping there in the pro league, like can't ask for any more than that. Then a beautiful island. With decent league where you play about 3 to 4 months, and you compete, you make some money, and at the same time you can have a good time.
Yeah, you talk about the league there. Actually, one of my former players that I coached when I was at UIC is actually playing there. Well, before the season got shut down, was
Hmm.
Julian Torres. I don't know if you've had an opportunity to meet him, but Julian played for me at I was his position coach when we were
Hmm.
at UIC. So Coach Chan will know Julian as well. A lot of talent, Puerto Rican kid, comes from there, loves it there. Loves going back. This would have been his second season playing there, and he said
Hmm.
the same thing about how high level the talent actually is.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
you know,
yeah.
you play, and of course you spend time in Puerto Rico, but you end up going to school here in the U.S. How was on the mainland? How was that transition from playing there to coming to New York and playing there?
It was hard. It was really hard just because of, like I said, Puerto Rico is a good place. It's not the best, and I'm not gonna lie, it's not the best place, but it's really good. And I was there. I'm really proud to be a Puerto Rican. Like I said, I'm not saying anything negative about it. But it obviously has its negative parts. But coming from Puerto Rico to New York for high school, and to start developing my game, it was really hard just because of um my like I didn't know that much of how to speak English. Like I really didn't know how to communicate with people.
Hmm.
I didn't really know the language well. I didn't have my family. I didn't really know anybody, so it was really hard. Just to that part made it even harder just because of like I had to focus on that a little more than basketball because obviously I
Hmm.
wanted to learn how to speak English. I want to be a good student. I wanted to communicate, be able to communicate with people. So I was worrying about that part and not worrying about basketball. So I was just struggling, trying to figure so many things out by myself as a 13 years old kid. So I struggled a lot my first year, but then just like everything you learn from your mistakes, you learn from your experiences. And when I came back for my second, third, and fourth year, I'll even say like every year I was more prepared than the year before, just because I was so mentally focused and paying attention to the things that really were gonna matter. So I was just always trying to communicate, like just talk to people. That way, that flow and that language, comes to me. And then by being in the
Right.
classroom, that also helps a lot. So I was going on extra help. I was going to tutoring and all that stuff. That way I can pick it up as quick as possible because I knew I needed to learn. Um, you know, either way, like I had to do it. Like nobody was gonna do it for me. So it was hard, but I'm really happy I did it. I'm really happy I made the jump. I'm really happy I made the sacrifice and took the challenge. Because like I said, like in Puerto Rico, I think it was just it was time to leave. Like I needed to leave, and I'm not a cocky person, and I'm not really trying to sound that way, but there was just no competition over there anymore. And if I
Hmm.
wanted to get better and if I had respect for the game, that definitely was the right thing to do.
Well, I could totally understand that, and even the difficulties of having to learn another language, having to
Mhm.
learn and fit into another culture. For me, it was when I first went to Spain my first year.
Mhm.
Like you, I had never really been off of the west side of Chicago, outside of the University of Illinois, maybe a couple of trips that we took there. But those trips were a week, 2 weeks. You don't really have to immerse yourself
Mhm.
into what's going on. And I had to do that my first year in Spain because when I went over there, man, there was two channels in English. You had CNN and you had Eurosport. So if I wanted to get
Mhm.
along, I had to learn the language. I had to learn the culture. So I understand exactly where you're coming from. But I'll say this: what difficulties like that we face make us stronger.
Yeah. Yeah.
It
Yeah.
makes
I
us
agree.
better.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know,
I agree. I
and
definitely agree.
I can see it has done that for you. That time, as you mentioned, you came over at 13, playing the 4 years that you did at high school, helped you as a player and as a person. I can see the growth just in the short time that I've been covering you. Can you talk a little bit about what was the basketball changes you had to make, or the basketball improvements from what you were learning and taking in Puerto Rico to what you had to do to be successful at the high school level?
To be honest with you, I don't think it was anything about basketball. Because like I was saying, I think I just needed to work on the things off the court. Then more, I needed to work on those things more than the things on the court. Because I knew basketball was gonna come naturally and it was gonna come by itself. And that's the interesting part about this whole journey and this whole story that I have. It's like I wasn't really worried about basketball. I was just worried about how how can I be a better student? How can I be a better person? How can I be a better man? Because I knew all that was going to to the game, and coming to this, that's why I realized um like you guys, like the culture here in America is so, so strict, and they focus on those, little details. So like when I came here, I knew I needed to be a better man, a better person, a better student first, because that was gonna take me places on the basketball court. And I think personally I needed to mature. I was just 13 years old trying to figure things out on my own. So I was just worrying about how to mature quick enough where I'm going to be able to play basketball and, not worry about the things that are happening in the outside. So to be honest with you, and to answer your question, I think I just
Right.
need to focus on those things, and then basketball was just going to take care of itself by, taking care of those things off the court. But to mention one or two things like basketball wise, it was that, like, just having to mature and having to, mentally be strong every single day, because like I said, the culture here, it's a really good culture, and that's why a lot of people want to come to the States, because of, how the culture is with sports, and that's what I liked, and I
Hmm.
liked it, and I stuck to it. I trusted the process, and here I am now.
There you go. Well, whatever you did, I agree with you 100%. First of all, it's a mature way of looking at it. If you work on your person, then your craft will take care of itself. And I
Hmm.
think that has happened. Watching you play, man, you have a sense of the game that not many people do. You can see all of the things that you do naturally that a lot of guards, a lot of players just don't have. I mean, the instinct, the court vision.
Hmm.
There's a lot of guys that are fast, but there's not a lot of guys that understand how to change pace and how to
Hmm.
get the ball to people in the right place. Is that something that came natural to you? Or is that something you worked on with your dad? Because I heard your dad plays the ball too, right?
Yeah, 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 and that's another thing, like, very interesting. I never, really had anybody teach me the game like that. I always had that support from mom and dad, obviously, and I always had that, those dad to son, or dad to, like, their son that's a basketball player conversation, but it was never of like a hey son, come on, let's work out. I'm gonna teach you this, I'm gonna teach you that. Hey son, like after a game, so hey son, like next game, do this, do that. Like we never had those conversations. Like all of our conversations, like with my mom and my dad, were always like little things, like things that they knew, that were, you know gonna matter on and off the court. So like, let's say I made a turnover and I got mad at myself, and my body language changed a little bit. They will tell me that. They won't tell me, hey, like, take the next shot, like you got to take more shots or whatever. Like they would just tell me things that are really, like, important to the game, and to things that could happen off the court. And I really didn't had anybody to teach me the game like that, to be honest with you. I started playing baseball, and when I made the choice of, quitting baseball and jumping right into basketball, I just kind of like knew how to play, if that makes sense. Like as a little kid, 4 or 5 years old, I just kind of knew how to play, and I took it from there. I loved the sport, I liked it, and I stuck to it.
I'll tell you this. It's actually good to hear that. You and I share a similarity in that regard. I didn't play basketball until I was a freshman in high school. I
Oh
played
wow,
I played baseball before
yeah,
that. My brother was the one that kind of took me away from baseball and put me in basketball, and so it kind of blossomed from there. And like you, I was like, man, I don't know how to do this,
hmm,
but it came naturally.
it can naturally, yeah.
And I can see that when I'm watching you play, man. It's again, after the first game I watched you play, and Javi Baez is, of course. I
Mm-hmm.
took El Mago's, I took his nickname and gave it to you. I mean, just because of the things that you do out there on the court and the vision you have on the court, it's magical, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And so I had one of our best point guards on the last time. I don't know if you had an opportunity to see it. If you don't, go back and take a look at it. Bruce Douglas. I don't know if you know that name, but if you don't, you
Yeah, yeah,
should.
yeah. I do. I do. I do.
Yeah, since Bruce played back in the '80s, but he's
Mm-hmm.
still our all-time leader in steals and assists at Illinois.
Mm-hmm.
And I asked Bruce, I say, Bruce, I'm on the record with this one because he's one of the guys I looked up to. I said, if he's around for 4 years, your assist record might be in trouble. He got a kick out of that. He was like, I hope so, Deon. I hope so. What is it that you when you walk on the court or when you walk into practice, let's say even more so than actual game time, what's your thought process when it comes to your teammates, when it comes to the game, when it comes to practice? What are you thinking when you go in there to do your work every day?
I just think about the people I do it for, and the bigger picture too. I think I preach a lot about focusing in the moment and focusing on what's happening now, and not worrying about what's gonna happen in 30 minutes from now, or like what's gonna happen in 2 minutes from now. But I think it's always good to focus sometimes, like I said, sometimes on the bigger picture, and think about that bigger picture, because you know things can get hard at times, and we all know everybody's going through something right at the moment, because of the pandemic and everything that's happening in the world. But and that's when I come into practice, when I come into games, I start thinking about the bigger picture, because I know I'm going through something right now. I know you're probably going through something right now, and people are going through stuff. So I just think about the bigger picture and the outcome that basketball can give me, and that's the reason that I just stay motivated and loyal to the grind, because I know right now it's a tough time to be out there and be working. When you haven't been home in a year, you have other people on the team where they haven't been home in 2 years. They haven't seen their family, their friends, and that's hard. And people, I don't think a lot of people take that in consideration, and I don't think a lot of people talk about that. But it's a hard thing, and every time I step on that court, man, I'm telling you right now, like, basketball is hard. Basketball is hard for me at the moment, and these situations. Basketball is hard, and it's hard to think and think positive and be like, oh my gosh, like, am I going to be able to do this in the future? Am I going to get to where I want to get, just because of the situation that we're living in, and because of the circumstances? And that's all I think about when I go into practice or into a game. I think about my family. I think about where I come from, my friends, all those people that mean a lot to me, because that's what I do it for. And there's a lot of people that want to be in my shoes, and that's my motivation. Those people like you as well, like they want to invite me to their podcast, or they just want to send me a text, or fans sending me little messages, like all that just keeps me motivated, because like I said, right now it's hard to stay motivated because of the circumstances, and you guys, and my family, and my island are the reason I stay motivated, and you guys are my gas to my tank, so I can keep going forward, and bring the best that I can bring to the table, and so you guys can have a good time watching us play.
There you go. Well, I can tell you this, we're definitely having a good time watching you
For
play, man.
sure,
So
for sure.
keep that grind going. But my next question, and this is one that's actually a little bit totally off base. I'm looking at your sweater, and they got all of the flags on the sweater, and
Mhm.
one of them I keep seeing is the Israeli flag. Because I have dual citizenship, between America and Israel. What's the sweater? Where'd you get it from? What's going on with that?
I went to it has these flags, obviously, as you can
Hmm.
see, and it was one time. I went to Puerto Rico on a mission trip because my high school in New York, they usually do like a trip to give back, and they're really big on that. And they usually do it to, wow, I forgot now. I think it's to Nicaragua. They usually do it to, they go to Nicaragua and they help out, they build houses and stuff like, to give back to the really, really poor people. But recently they've been in like a civil war, so they said it wasn't safe to do it. And ever since, excuse me, that Hurricane Maria hit Puerto Rico, they started going there. And my senior year, I went, to get back. It was my last year. I wanted to do it. I couldn't be there for the whole thing because I had some games, but I went there, spent 2 days, gave back, felt really good about it. And in our last day, they went to the mall to kill some time before their flight, and so I went there too. Like I met with them over there before they left because I was gonna stay for a few extra days. And I was just walking around the mall, went to Paxson, the store,
Yeah.
and I saw it, and I was like, well, it has the flags. I like all the international, all that flow, like, knowing about other cultures, and I liked it, and I bought it.
And well, I say I like it, and that's
Yeah,
exactly
yeah,
why I
yeah.
asked. And you actually took one of the questions right out of my mouth. I was going to ask you about, this is a little off topic, but when you mentioned going over, helping out after the hurricane, was many of your family affected by that, and if so, how they're doing?
Yeah, they wasn't really affected by it. Their houses are good, everything is good.
Good.
Thankfully, and they didn't have power for almost like half a year. I'll say like 6 7 months maybe. They were struggling with the water as well. But they're good. Thankfully, and I'm really glad that they're safe. But I'm pretty sure there's still people struggling and figuring things out for sure.
Good.
I wouldn't be able to tell you like an exact amount of how many people or like are close to it because I'm not really sure, but there's definitely people out there struggling and
Yeah.
trying to figure things out and figuring how to bring food to the table.
Right. Well, as you mentioned, we struggle all the time, man.
Yeah,
And there's
yeah,
always going to be struggle. But the great thing about the human being is we always figure out a way to make
yep.
things better for ourselves. So, keep praying for the people on the island, of course, and,
Appreciate
and
that.
and for your family that's there as well. But let's get back now. I have to ask this question. Coming out of school, out of high school, highly touted, everybody wanted you. I mean, you were on everybody's radar. Why Illinois?
Man, when I came on my visit, I had that feeling. It's weird to explain it. Every time somebody asks me that, I say it because it's just a feeling that you get when you're walking around, whether it's the first, second, or third day. And I kind of got it as soon as I landed. I was like coming in, I'm looking out the window. I All I see is just green land, and I'm like, what did I get myself into? Like, I'm just wasting my time. But man, when I landed, I was just like I felt the feeling. Walking to in the airport, then got to campus, met all the coaches, met all the players, and I kind of like felt that connection with them right away too. Not only with Coach Underwood and Coach Antigua that were the one recruiting me the most for the most part, but with the other coaches, I just felt that connection like right away. And with my teammates, I connected. Like I felt that connection with them. And then going out, walking around campus, I just felt right. A lot of fans, a lot of students, like knew who I was, so they were like screaming, "Curbelo, we want you!" Like Curbelo, like you gotta come here, this, that. and I just felt that love, and I felt in family, and that's what I was looking for. At the end of the day when I was making my decision, because as everybody knows, like I didn't have my family, you know, growing up in New York, and being there in high school. So I needed that family environment, and that
Right.
feeling of feeling safe, and being able to be who I am. And I felt it here, like walking around here on campus, like I felt that feeling. And it's a great school academically too. It has a great team. Like I knew it was gonna have a great team. So I couldn't ask for a better place than this for sure.
Well, I can tell you this. I completely understand what you mean. Now, I'm from Chicago, so I grew up watching the Illini play, since
Hmm.
I was a kid. Um, when I took my visits, to Arizona, to UCLA, to Iowa, to Minnesota, and then to down to Champaign, none of them gave me that same feeling as I
Hmm.
did when I walked on the campus in Champaign. It
Yeah,
felt
and
like you said, it felt
and
like home.
and that's what I was gonna say. It's weird to explain it. Like if you, I was gonna say that, like if you don't really been through the process, like you can say you understand, and like you say, okay, yeah, I feel you, but like it's just like a unique feeling that the person gets, and I got it here. And I
Yeah.
got it here for sure.
Well, I'll tell you this: because I was at the practice, I ended up meeting you. I met your dad. I don't know if you
Hmm.
remember, but I
Yeah,
met
yeah.
your dad, and everybody had a chance to talk to you guys. And I was impressed by you then. I was impressed by how comfortable you seemed being in that environment. And that's
Hmm.
big when you're going to be playing in the Big Ten. When you're going to be playing on one of the biggest stages there is, you have to be able to have that, and you have this, I believe, this quiet confidence about you, that makes you fit in places. So, and I think
Hmm.
this is why you fit in so well where you are right now. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I definitely agree. And growing up, and now jumping to the next level, leaving high school, jumping into college, like I think one thing I saw, I've been wanting to work on is just working on myself, and focusing on myself a little better, and not in a selfish way, but in a way where I can identify my what I'm doing wrong, so I can turn it into a positive thing. And I definitely agree. I definitely agree with what you said. I'm I have confidence, but not cocky. Like I just have enough confidence where I can keep it, a little quiet, like you said. It's like a low key feeling, and I think that's why I feel good into the program, and even into anywhere else I would have went to, just because of my personality, and I think that plays like a really really big role on my game and off the court too, because like I've been saying, basketball is not only about on what you do on the court. It definitely, the things off the court that definitely carries into your journey, and a lot something I really like, and coming out of high school, I learned that it's ABCs, which is um, A for academics, B for basketball, and C for character. And like coming out of high school, my basketball coach preached that a lot. Like, okay, ABCs, like make sure we're taking care of the ABCs, because academics are definitely important. You got to be able to have good grades in order to play basketball. B basketball for B. Obviously, you got to take care of basketball. You got to do good. You got to work out. You got to do all that stuff. And character, it's just as important as academics and basketball. Because if you don't have a good character, you could be the best player, but nobody's really gonna want you on the team. So I definitely agree with you. Like I definitely think my personality, it's involved in some ways on my game. So I definitely agree with you.
Well, I tell you this: I love the ABCs of basketball because one of the things I was always taught by my high school coach, and then that which carried over to Illinois with Coach Henson, is that basketball is an extension of life.
Mm-hmm.
All of the
Mm-hmm.
things that you learn on the court and what you learned with your teammates will carry you on in what you do in life. And this is why my
Definitely.
oldest daughter played, I always talk to my kids about playing a team sport. You play a team
Mm-hmm.
sport so you can gather all of those things in life, and that'll help you get
Mm-hmm.
better. My youngest plays
Mm-hmm.
volleyball, my oldest played basketball. But what they learned and what you get to take, as you mentioned, doesn't just help you on the court, but it helps you
Mm-hmm.
in life as well. So I love to hear what your coach was teaching you guys in high school, because I think he's teaching you the right thing the
Yeah,
right way,
yeah,
which
for sure.
definitely is helping you as you moved on to Illinois. And speaking of moving on to Illinois, you get there, of course, you meet the teammates, you meet Kofi, you meet Io, but then the NBA rolls around, and those guys, we don't know if they're coming back
Mm-hmm.
or going. What was your thought process when, of course, part of the decision, I'm sure, was having an idea of playing with those
Mm-hmm.
guys, and now you hear that they may be gone, and then you find out what they were coming back. Tell me a little bit about that mental roller coaster as you were, of course,
Mm-hmm.
dealing with that same thing as they were. A little bit
I
different, but
was,
you were dealing with it as well.
yeah, I was really happy, to be honest. Like, a lot of people thought I would be a little worried, or a little mad, just because Ayo came back, and all the controversial stuff. Oh, like, what about your minutes, this, that. But I was really happy to, like, I was really, 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 really happy, um because obviously that made us a better team. um
Hmm.
more weapons on offense, on defense, and just so many positive things. Um, but I wasn't really worried about anything. I knew my minutes could drop a little bit, but I wasn't really worried about it at all. I was just really happy that they came back. My relationship with Kofi, I would say, it's probably a little different than anyone else, just because he went to school in New York. I've known him probably the longest. But knowing that them two came back, I was just really happy to hear that and see it. Because that got me really excited. Going into the season. Whether I played 30, whether I played 20, whether I played 10, whether I played 5 minutes. I was really excited because everything has time, everything has a place. And if it wasn't my time this first year, then it wasn't my time. Um, that's why there's 4 years to play college. So I wasn't really worried about it at all. I was just really happy, really excited that they came back, because, like I said, that definitely made us a better team, and definitely gave us more and more potential, and more weapons to win ball games.
Yeah, I'll tell you this, because I know how that roller coaster works with people saying this, saying that. When I came in as a freshman, I was supposed to play with the guys that were left over from that Flying Illini team. And unfortunately, I didn't get an opportunity to play with them. But I understand how you'll have people from the outside talking. But I'll tell you this, when they decided to come back, I looked at that as a plus for you.
Definitely, definitely.
I was like, now he'll have an opportunity to grow into his position as a freshman,
Hmm.
because I coached for 8 years after I played professionally for 14, and not to mention the rest of the college and high school. I know how difficult it is coming into the Big Ten.
Hmm.
The best coaches in the world, the best players in the world. On the collegiate level, top to bottom, we have the toughest league in college basketball, and to have guys like a Kofi or Io there to take the pressure off of you, because now they can't concentrate on you. They have to
Hmm.
concentrate on them, which will allow you to grow into your position and as you grow as a freshman. How has that been, that growth for you? Because I'll tell you this, when you first came on the floor in your first game, super exciting, looked great, did everything, and I would tell my co-host on the radio, Brian Barnhart, Brian, he's a freshman, he's gonna make mistakes. I'm like, so you got to get the
Hmm.
freshman mistakes out of the way, and he'll grow out of the freshman mistakes.
Hmm.
And I watched you then, and I watched you now, and I can see the progression. How has that, um, from the time you stepped on to now, how has that progression been for you?
Yeah, it's been a rough, it's been a rough season. It's been a difficult one. Like I said, but yeah, like I've been working extremely hard just to learn, to continue to learn. Because even though I'm a freshman, I knew I was gonna play. I knew I was gonna get some minutes, and I was gonna
Hmm.
get in. And the amount of minutes that I play will be up to me. So coming in my first game, first couple of games, I was struggling. Of course, I'm a freshman. Like, of course, I'm a
It
struggle. Like,
happens,
damn,
baby.
like
It happens.
I'm new to the game. Like, of course, I'm a struggle. I'm not gonna be perfect. Um, but I was just focusing on the bigger picture, and that's where everything I've been saying comes into play and connects. I said I need to work hard. I need to get better. I need to learn the game. I need to adjust quick.
Right.
And having those those two guys back, having Trent Frazier on the team, having Demonte Williams on the team, having those guys, on the team this year, it's been helping me a lot. Like when I tell you, I feel like when in practice, when I'm practicing and I'm going against either Io or Trent, I feel like really bad. Like they make me feel really, really bad because they're always like just cooking me, like cooking me up, like scoring on me, like just frying me. And I'm like, God damn, like I've never been like I feel like I'm like the worst player ever. But those are just lessons that you learn and guard. If I can guard Trent Frazier or Ayo Dosunmu in practice, I can guard pretty much anybody in the country. So I started to take that challenge in practice just to guard one of them every day at least the entire practice. And it happens to be that way every practice. I'm either with Trent or I'm either with Ayo. So like I either have to guard one of them every day. So I take that challenge really serious and because like I said, if I can guard them, I can pretty much guard anybody in the country. So having those guys around me literally 24/7, like they literally making me better every time I'm around them because I'm definitely learning something new every day when I'm around them and because they're vets, they know the game, they've been around the game for a while now, and I think that's why I'm the player that I am because I'm willing to learn and I'm willing to listen to people that are just like me, better than me, or less than me. That can sound weird, but what I'm trying to say is just like everybody's equal, and I
Yeah.
see it, and that's how I see it. And if I think I'm better than you, but you have something to say to me, like I'm listening to you, and if what you're saying makes sense, of course I'm gonna do it because if it's gonna make me better, why wouldn't I do that? So having those guys around is definitely a great thing, and it definitely helps to ease the transition a little better.
Hmm.
But I'm still definitely learning. There's definitely room to improve. I always say that, and I think you know as the years go by, I don't know how many years I'll be here, but as the years go by, I will definitely improve and get better at the game, and not make those mistakes I make by my first year as a freshman.
I agree. I'll tell you this: you're looking at that the right way because that's the way you're supposed to look at it.
Hmm.
You take your lessons from the upperclassmen, you fold it into your game, which eventually makes you better. And one of the other things you said reminds me of something my grandmother used to say to me. She used to be like, "Baby, you make sure you listen to everybody because you can learn something from a fool."
Hmm. Hmm.
There's always
Exactly.
something that you can learn
Yep.
from someone that you may not know. So it's great to hear that you're
Hmm.
taking those, that you're taking the view of looking at those lessons that way. And I love the fact that you're taking the challenge and putting it up on your shoulders to
Yeah.
say, okay, I'm gonna guard one of these guys
Yeah.
every day in practice
Yeah.
because it's gonna make you better. So I have
Exactly.
to bring this up. We unfortunately, I hate losing to Ohio State. I hate losing to anybody. It
Yeah, I
still
hate losing
bothers
too.
me. It still bothers me to this day as much as it bothers you guys when you're out there playing on the court.
Yeah.
But I saw in the last game you got to play against one of your high school teammates, and I heard about how close you guys' relationship is. How was that? I mean, and now he's one up on you, so that means we got to get the next one back
Oh
on
no, yeah, for
Columbus.
sure. Yeah, for sure, for sure. But other than that, like it was great. It was great. It was definitely. I had a different feeling for that game. It meant a lot. To see him there, see him on the other team. Just because of how close we are and our relationship. And like I've been saying, that's what it's all about. I think the game of basketball, like we've been saying also, it's just like a
Hmm.
tool. It's just an extension to life, and that's another reason why I play the game of basketball because of all the connections you can make and all the friendships you can make that are gonna last forever, and that's definitely one of them. He
Right.
was my first teammate that I got to know. um, we played together in high school, and now being on opposite teams, so it's weird, but it's
Yeah.
definitely special and definitely means a lot to me. And I'm really proud of him, and proud of us of what we did together as
Mhm.
teammates as a duo. But obviously, everybody got to do what's best for them, and his journey was inside Ohio State, mine is here at the University of Illinois,
Yeah.
and we're both gonna like that going into that game. We just had to play hard. Like if we
Mhm.
didn't play hard and we took it for granted, that would have been disrespectful to the game. So we competed. It was a 1 possession game. We lost by two. So we worked hard, and that's what the game wanted us to do.
Oh no, I
Definitely,
agree with you 100%. One of
yeah,
the things you
yeah.
said that I love, man, is your relationship with Kofi and your relationship with him. Next time you tell him to tell you thank you for getting him that scholarship too, because I know all the assists that as a point guard
the,
you
the
dropping them off to guys.
the
My
coach
best. Uh-huh.
the coach from Ohio State told me that there was a play. It was a immediate timeout, and both teams came out a little early, and I was just by the sideline by where he was, and he was like, "Oh, what's up, Curbelo?" And I was like, "Oh, good, coach. How are you?" It was like good, good, and I was like, "Oh, is that kid doing good? Good player right there, huh?" And he was like, "Yeah, yeah, yeah, really good player. Love him. Works hard." But he's missing a lot of buckets from you, and I just started laughing because he knows that too. Like I gave him a lot of points for sure. Like that was one of my favorite things, just passing him the ball, giving him like a lob or a dump off or anything, and him converting it into a dunk.
Right.
That was definitely probably one of my favorite things doing high school for sure.
I was a lot like him at 6'8", kind of that medium range, lower range,
Mhm, mhm,
as far as being a post player. I'm not
mhm.
as big as
Yeah.
Kobe, but my best friend was always a point guard. You
Yep.
could because the point guard you need the ball when you're big, getting it from the point
Mhm.
guard. So the points are
Yep.
always your friend, man. So
Yep.
that's why I had to tell you that just jokingly,
No, no,
like, hey,
yeah,
dude.
yeah, yeah,
Like, dude, thank you for that scholarship. Because if it was not
yeah.
for your point guard, man, woo, it gets a little tough. But I got one more for you, man, and I'm gonna let you go because I don't want to take up all your time. I remember
For
how it
sure,
used to be.
for
Um,
sure.
right now, and this is more so. I know where you guys are going, and I said that from the beginning of the year as you and Adam continue to grow, and not just Adam. As a freshman, continue to grow on this team. We're not going to do anything but get better, no doubt in my mind. But I want to ask you this: as you guys continue to grow as players, you talked about your relationship with your upperclassmen. What's one thing that you have taken from them that's helping you move forward in what you're doing?
Wow, I think that's a really good question. I've learned a lot. Um, But one thing I'll say, uh, just staying strong. Um, I think one thing that I really enjoy and really like a lot, and and it even makes me, sometimes feel a little emotional about it. But it's all the work we've had to do, and those guys have to do. I've known a lot about Demonte. I've known a lot about Trent. I've known a lot about Georgie. Those guys that have been here for 3, 4 years now. And it's hard what they've been through. It's not easy. They don't come from the greatest place. You know, I know Demonte struggles with a loss sometimes. I know Trent struggles with a loss sometimes. Georgie hasn't been home for 2 years.
Mhm.
So definitely, 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 the most important thing I'll say that it's just staying strong and knowing that you gotta take care of yourself because it's a game. This is the game of basketball. The ball is gonna stop bouncing at some point. And if you don't know how to take care of yourself when the ball stop bouncing, nobody's gonna do it for you. So I
Yeah.
think one thing I've gotten from them is definitely how to stay strong and how to stay, loyal to yourself, if that makes sense, instead of, beating yourself up and just constantly thinking of like, oh, like I'm trash or like, oh, this, like I gotta get better at this, gotta get better at that, and just focusing on so many negative things. So definitely, 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 the thing I've learned from them and that I've enjoyed the most learning and seeing it is being strong and staying loyal to yourself for sure.
Hey, I love that, man. I love it. Keep on your grind, young fella. And I'm gonna tell you, as one older Illini to a current Illini, if there's ever anything you need an ear, you need this. Do not hesitate to reach out to me. I'm easy to find. I'm standing up there on the radio talking about you basically every game. So I let know that I am available to you and to not just you, as I tell all of the guys, Georgia, I've told Kofi and I've told them all
Hmm.
the same thing. Even if it's just to talk and get something off your shoulders when you want to have an ear outside of your circle,
For
I'm
sure.
available.
So
And what we
I
talk about
appreciate that.
stays between us. Does not go any further. So just know that we or I, as a guy that has bled on those jerseys that you guys wear, not the same exact jerseys, of course, but bled on those jerseys. I understand what you're going through. I understand the fight that you guys are going through. I am extremely proud of where you are and where your team is and where you guys are going. You got a great coaching staff, man. Just keep listening, keep learning, and know that us former Illini are proud of what you guys are doing.
Yes, sir. I appreciate that, man. Really means a lot. And like I said, all that support, all that love is that's what keeps me going. So definitely means a lot, and I really appreciate that. And thank you for
Yes.
having me here.
I'm gonna give you one more second. The mic is yours, because all of our Illini fans, give them a little something, whatever you want to give them on how you appreciate their support or whatever you want to give them. Go ahead.
No,
The
for
mic is
sure,
yours.
for sure. It like I said, all that not only coming from you, but from everyone else, really means a lot. All that love, all that support, really means a lot to me and to the program. It's hard. Like the game of basketball is hard. We're one of the tough conference. We're gonna lose games, but just know that we're always gonna work hard and continue to get better. To give the best we can give to you guys. That way you guys can have fun. So definitely appreciate the love and the support and staying loyal to us. And we're gonna continue to work hard and win some more games. So
They
take care of each other, be safe, wear a mask so this thing can get better and you guys can come to the games next year and see it happen live in
Yes, sir.
person.
Yes, sir. El Mago, the magician, Andre Curbelo, I appreciate you, baby. Thank you for coming out and joining us on Champagne on Ice. And the Illini Nation and everybody that's listening, do not forget Apple Podcasts, Spotify, subscribe, press like, and rate this thing. But also go on and check out the Field of 68 Media Network. Like and subscribe, because without them, you don't have me. So I appreciate what those guys are doing. Illini Nation, you do the same. Thank you again for joining us. El Mago, appreciate you, baby. Keep the grind going, and I'm going to be out there with you. Peace, love, and hair grease, Illini Nation.